and welcome to an odd Thursday episode of Death Battle Cast.
If you're watching live.
Yes, if you're watching live, welcome. We are the cast and crew of Death Battle and more. I'm Ben, the voice of Wiz. Joining me is Chad, the
Hi.
boomstick.
I play Boomstick.
Yep.
And then I'm Sam. And then here you go, Eddie. Your turn.
Oh, I'm Eddie.
And then Eddie.
And I'm the writing supervisor for RT Animation and a special guest.
I love it, guys. I am a special guest.
That's just his role at Rooster Teeth. He is special guest.
Part of my job description.
No, Eddie, you want to, just in case some people watching don't know who you are, what you do, you want to just kind of briefly go over what you work on?
Sure. I do. Most of my work is on RWBY currently. One of the writers of that show. And then also do a lot of brand work with partners and stuff with RWBY. And now that that's going to be kind of taking a little bit of a not quite as intense work as it's been for the last year and a half, we'll be kind of helping out with other RT animation shows just as a writing supervisor. And also worked with some of these guys on the RWBY Grimm Campaign D&D show, which just finished its run of episodes last week.
Yeah. Actually, everyone in here, including Cody behind the scenes, worked on that show except for Ben.
Yeah.
I guess I'll leave. Bye.
Ben is our special guest for today's episode of the Grimm Campaign podcast.
Welcome to the Grimm Campaign wrap-up show.
Yeah.
Except for me.
Dude, that show is so much fun to do. And it was really cool to see the audience enjoy it a bunch. So
Can we do a wrap-up podcast for the Grimm Campaign called the Grimm Champagne? And we just drink champagne the whole time?
I'm all about it, Sam.
Yeah.
Okay, 100%. Let's go.
You know, all I need is a clever title to be in on a show.
Green light it.
I definitely want to get into the Grimm Campaign with you guys a little bit. Just talk a little bit about it, as well as RWBY and what's coming up on Rooster Teeth. But we definitely this is Death Battle Cast, obviously, so we should address what's going on with Death Battle right now. There is, if you haven't seen the announcement, we have had to delay the upcoming episode, the Red versus Blue episode that was originally planned to air next week. And it's sort of a complicated situation, but I don't want to necessarily spin it for you guys or anything. I'm just going to be upfront. The main reason why is because Red versus Blue Zero had to be delayed. And so that sort of led into this discussion of, well, should the Red versus Blue Death Battle be delayed in order to help support Red versus Blue Zero? And it was ultimately decided, yes, it should. So what does that mean? I hear you people in the back saying wait a minute, last week you said it was not a crossover episode. And it's not. This Red versus Blue Death Battle is a standalone death battle. So no worries about that. It's just meant to help support Red versus Blue Zero, because Zero is a very new take on the Red versus Blue series. And frankly, we just want to support our friends who are working on it. If you haven't heard, the showrunner for this new season of Red versus Blue is Torian. The guy who's been working on Death Battle for years, as well as Josh and Noel, and a bunch of awesome animators. The show looks so fucking cool, and it's gonna be really neat. But we obviously want to help support them and make sure that show gets the viewership and help that it deserves.
Yeah, and thanks to you guys, Death Battle gets a lot of views, so it's a great platform for us to be like, hey, if you liked this, you want to see more action like this, go watch this new show, check it out, please support our friends.
Yes, as well as so the Red versus Blue battle idea, I originally pitched it years ago as just sort of this random idea that I had, wouldn't it'd be kind of fun to do this, what if the Reds and Blues actually fought to the death at the beginning of the series. It was just an idea that was kind of floating around. So when RWBY Zero was greenlit, Sean came to us and was like, hey, that RWBY Death Battle idea? It might be a good way to help support RWBY Zero, as well as sort of celebrate the characters of RWBY's 17 seasons, because not all of them will be appearing in RWBY Zero. Some of them will, but we can't spoil that. So this death battle very much represents what Red versus Blue means to us in a lot of different ways. Because frankly, we wouldn't be here without RWB. Not just because it helped start the company, but it also inspired a lot of us to jump into this career as we are. Like, I would have never thought, without Red versus Blue, frankly, I would have been trying my hand at the whole LA Hollywood thing, like years and years ago. Like, that's my backstory.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the first piece of clothing I ever was like, I want to buy merch. I bought an RVB hoodie when I was like 15 or 16, like when I had my first car.
Sam showed me
So, yeah.
RBB.
Yeah,
We sat in your living room, and I don't even know how we pulled it up. I guess we plugged a computer into your TV.
Yeah, we were tech savvy for being 2003 or something like that. But
Yeah, I remember sitting in your parents' living room, and you showed me Red versus Blue.
I discovered
played Halo.
Red versus Blue at a LAN party back in the day, because it was like
that seems very appropriate.
We had all had like our computers networked and stuff, and then so there was like shared drives where people were just dumping like media and stuff, like, oh, have you seen this, have you seen this? People had like ripped Family Guy episodes, things like that, and then I found Red versus Blue. It was like just 2 or 3 episodes of it, maybe even a few more. It was like up until in the first season they took a break for E3, so maybe 5 or 6 episodes, but like I took them all, watched them at this LAN party, and was like, oh wow. And then I ended up starting my own machinima series that Rooster Teeth saw, and then that's how I got hooked up with Rooster Teeth.
Pretty
all
much
the way back in 2009.
Like, your LAN party invented YouTube, and y'all just didn't capitalize.
Basically, we should have done that.
Okay.
Oh man!
Fact,
And then of course,
I learned this the other day. Did you know they made YouTube because the 2 guys? It was like 2 guys that they were upset they couldn't find a good video of Janet Jackson's nip slip from the Super Bowl in like 2013, and they're like, "Bah, this is ridiculous!" And they made YouTube. Like, that's how that happened. Ridiculous.
I have not heard that, but
that's how they made YouTube. Like, this prolific thing that changed media. They were like, can't
I
find
mean, it started as
Jackson.
a dating site, right? And then it sort of evolved into that. I think so. Yeah.
Wow.
I remember the very
It
first
started as like a
video,
connection thing, I think.
the first big video I saw on YouTube, and I feel like this was a thing. Maybe I'm not just making it up. Was one of the Saturday Night Live like Lonely Island rap things with Natalie Portman. Maybe. Oh no, not with Natalie Portman. It was one of the it was one of the like Lonely Island Saturday Night Live rap things that they did. I can't remember what it was, but they had a joke in there about like Google Maps and. But yeah, I remember that being like one of the first big videos on YouTube.
It's only 15 years old, which really is not that old.
Yeah. I think the first thing I ever watched on YouTube was I know we need to get back to the point of like what our actual plan is, and we've really derailed this already.
Go ahead.
But Sam and I used
welcome to Death Metal Cassidy.
Yeah, Sam and I used to work at an airsoft company together, and I remember we were sitting in the warehouse, and it was one of the guys. It was like a shared. The guy who owned the warehouse for airsoft, he also ran a video rental company, and so there was like both the teams were there. There's like the guys who worked on the video side and the guys who worked on airsoft, and the guys on the video side started showing us the GI Joe PSA redubs.
Yeah,
and I think that was the first videos I ever watched on YouTube.
An excellent use of YouTube,
because I remember going, what is YouTube? And then
I feel like I watched all those on like E-Bombs World.
I know, right?
Dude, anyone remembers that?
YTMND.
Oh my god!
Like,
you're the man now, dog. That shit was good. Still up and running.
Well, bringing it back to the topic at hand, the last thing about RWB is that like it also was directly responsible for Death Battle itself, because one of the main inspirations, aside from finding Goku vs. Superman arguments on forums, was Monty Oum's Haloid. And of course, Monty would eventually help reinvent what Red vs. Blue is, which leads to what Torian is doing now for Red vs. Blue. It's very much inspired by Monty Oum. So there's a lot of things going on in that regard.
Circle.
It's but because that episode is being delayed, so I can tell you that episode, the Red vs. Blue Death Battle, will be airing now on November 15th for first members and November 16th for YouTube. Does that mean all of Death Battle is being pushed back? No. We are still airing the planned episode for November 1st, which is our second spooky episode of the year. It's like the day after Halloween. It was so close. So damn close.
It's the best you can do, you know?
So we do have a little reveal trailer for that. So I think it's a good time to go ahead and show you what the next death battle is gonna be. Let's go ahead and play that.
That last wolf howl, did we grab that off of a stock site and did somebody record that?
I don't know. I don't know.
I imagine it's like just some weird back like library.
Yeah, it just sounds like someone jumped into a booth real fast.
Nick had to edit that pretty quickly yesterday, so it might have just been Nick.
It sounded like it might have been.
I feel like we've been talking about doing this one for like 3 years now, and
Yes.
it's always been like,
Oh, yeah.
how do we like? We know it's gotta be a near Halloween episode. Like it's two
Oh, yeah.
werewolves. It was just like really obvious. It's like you don't do that one in February. Nobody fucks with werewolves in February, right? Like they're not cool anymore. So glad we got it really close to Halloween. It's gonna be a fun one.
Is that the title of this week's episode? Nobody fucks with werewolves in
February.
I mean,
Yeah, let's not get
maybe.
demonetized.
But yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah, we have been talking about doing this one for years. We are very excited to finally be doing the werewolf battle. Saberwolf from Killer Instinct, a series which I know a lot of us are big fans of, versus John Talbane from Darkstalkers, a series which a lot of us wish got a lot more love. We are so happy to be working on this finally, and Luis's team has been doing an incredible job with putting this animation together. It gets violent, y'all. Like it is a Halloween episode through and through. If you do not like blood and guts, it's not an episode for you. But then again, why are you watching Death Battle? It's going to be a fun one. So that
This is
episode,
only the second time we've had Darkstalkers too, right? Like we had Felicia like 9 years ago.
Felicia was like season 1, but I'm pretty sure we
that
had
was like
Darkstalkers character.
2011.
Tao. No, wait, that's not Darkstalkers. Because that's who Felicia was fighting. I don't think we have.
No, that's Felicia Blaze Blue. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
the cat girl from Blaze Blue. I remember that.
Yeah,
that
that's
was like
Tao
9 years ago. It's crazy that we've never had Darkstalkers in the last nearly decade.
Yeah, we've talked
we
about
not?
Morgan, but we haven't put her in.
Morgan is a character that comes up every so often. There are a bunch of different matchup requests for her.
We get a lot of Morgan versus Buffy, which makes me laugh.
Buffy wins 100%.
Dude,
Yeah. I think Buffy walks away
Buffy
with that
gets
one.
wild.
yeah.
So that
I always
episode,
wanted to do Buffy Blade. I still think that's a good episode.
Buffy Blade is
I still
dope.
think slaps.
Buffy Blade is dope. Which actually, on that note, Eddie, I don't think anybody might have prepared you for this, but we will be announcing a new community death battle matchup at the end of the episode, and
Okay.
we will let you help pick the characters. So start thinking about characters that you would like to see in a death battle, serious
Okay, great.
or absurd.
I love when our
Whatever you
guests
wanna do.
are on before time and they're like, is there anything we should know? We're like, nah, we just kind of have fun and go. And
Well,
then in the
I-
middle of the
I
episode, we're like,
informed
oh,
them
wait, but
like-
you should be thinking about
Be
this.
thinking about this.
Yeah, I told them we were doing the George Jetson for Ed Flintstone. I forgot that you get forced to pick one, but just say two names. Like,
putting you
two
on the
names,
spot.
that's all you do.
No, we can pick whatever for that.
If not, you can always pull from the chat, which we have open.
Yes,
So, hi,
yes,
chat.
Nice,
absolutely. So Saberwolf versus John Talbane will debut on November 1st for first members and November 2nd on YouTube. Then the Red versus Blue Death Battle will be in the next slot after that. So basically, we just got kind of an empty slot coming up this next week where Death Battle would normally air. There's just not going to be a Death Battle, but then we're moving on as normal every 2 weeks. And it should be fine. So apologies for anybody who was like really excited and planning to like spend some time watching that episode. next week. We're bummed too that it has to be pushed, but I do want to say I really appreciate the support that we got when we made those initial tweets. I wasn't entirely sure how people would react, honestly, to us having to delay a Death Battle episode, and a lot of people seemed to just support us and trust us before we could get into this explanation. We obviously can't have such a big explanation on Twitter, so it's sort of like throwing a post out to the wolves and hoping that everybody understands. And a lot of people did. And yep. And I can't thank you all enough for trusting us and being supportive. Like it really means a lot. And it's definitely something that we will be thinking about and always remember. So appreciate you guys so much. Thank you so much.
And I wasn't really liking that pun.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
Oh,
It's time for the Grimm Campaign talk. I don't need to be here. Hey, let's talk about what's going on.
Not that long ago, going out with your friends was, there was a lot of process. You had to find out where you're going, what you're wearing, who's going, which, all this. Now, send out a Google link. Hang out with your friends. And you know what's best to do with your friends? Have a Miller, because boom, you got Miller time. Let me tell you, the year's the year. It's the stuff. Everything's weird. Just have a beer and try and enjoy a few moments with good friends, because that's a smart and healthy thing to do. So yeah, whether you're toasting in person or you're cheersing from afar, Miller Lite has always been about bringing you and your friends together for Miller time. In socially distanced world, enjoying a Miller Lite with your favorite people looks different from than before, but staying connected is still just as important. What does Miller Lite look like for you? Well, for me, it's what this looks like, because I do it on the internet with my friends. Yeah. Today it's recommended that you keep your social circle small, so how are we connecting with our friends? Online. How are we doing it? With Millers, because that's a good way to do it. Miller Lite, great taste with only 96 calories and 3.2 carbs. However, you and your friends are enjoying Miller Lite. It's the original light beer, and you can now get it delivered by going to MillerLite.com/cast and find the delivery option near you. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. That's wonderful. Great beer. Enjoy.
What is going on? We got RWBY coming up. We got a RWBY Volume 8 trailer out, so that's pretty dope.
Yeah, we got a trailer for that yesterday, which is pretty cool. Yeah, been waiting on that one to come out.
How you feeling about that one, Eddie? Are you psyched?
I am. I'm psyched. I'm always like, anytime like a show that you worked on is about to come out, you're like excited, but also like crazy nervous just about it. So yeah, it's I think I'm probably more nervous for this one than I was for Volume 7. Just because Volume 7 was like my first time writing on the show. But I was like more excited. Whereas this one is kind of like, all right, well, there's a lot of expectations rolling into this. So
the initial excitement's kind of worn off, and now you're like, oh God, like I'm responsible for this now.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to the season. It's a longer than normal season, 14 episodes instead of 13. Most of them land right around 13, but we got 14 for Volume 8 because there was just so much stuff that we needed to get through. And we're also, it's also when you're kind of going into like headcanon territory, that always gets a little bit nerve-wracking. Just because for so long people have wanted to be an Atlas, and people have kind of like fixated on like, here's all the stuff that like should and needs to happen in Atlas, and then once you inevitably start colliding with those things, like there's a lot of pressure there.
This is part of the story that's been kind of building up to for a very long time. So everybody has their own expectations, and meeting those is difficult.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm super excited just because with volume, we got greenlit for Volume 7, 8, and 9 at the same time. So I think some people think that means that it's like one single story that spans 3 volumes, and I don't like to think of it about that way so much as like kind kind of a specific character's journey for 3 volumes, and that was the thing that we committed to. Right, like what character emotional beats are really important to us to tell through 7 through 9, and that's I'm just excited to kind of see where all that goes and how people respond to those things. There's
That's
some
awesome.
bangers. There are some bangers in this volume. Like,
Oh, I bet.
there's some banger episodes in this volume. So
On that
There you
though,
go.
like, because I feel like, and if we can keep talking RWBY, but like on the like writing side of things, I always feel like ending a character, like in like, or not ending, but leaving off like like finishing a character's arc is like always the hardest thing. Do you like, what do you look to in other characters, like when you think like, oh, that character in that like franchise ended great? Like, are there examples you have off the top of your head where it's like, oh man, that's a great way to like polish off a character's story?
oh man, I'm trying to think.
You know, that's a question that'll span all genres in media that you've ever watched. So on the spot,
Yeah, I was
please.
just coming out here trying to slam some writer questions on the table. So
Yeah, no, for sure.
Man, now I gotta like think about that for a second.
One of the most depressing ones was Kenshin Himura. I'll say that. That was not at all how I thought that was gonna happen.
No, I
Yeah.
think about like I really like, you know, I mean it's kind of a cheesy answer, but like with My Hero, right? Like I love what's gone on with Bakugo over 3 or 4 seasons, right? Like this
Mhm.
anytime that you can take a character that looks like one thing on the surface and there's still that thing, but like you see like another little element to it, right? Like it doesn't fundamentally change who that person is. Right? But you understand it in a different way and it becomes kind of endearing in its own way. I'm always a big
Mhm.
fan of that.
Absolutely. I think Bakugo is one of the most interesting characters that's been created in a while, because it's very much, people would probably expect that to be like, oh, it's the Sasuke of My Hero or whatever, and it's he sort of is, but also not. He could very much be. He's almost like an extreme version of a typical anime protagonist, where that will to win has just been amped up to 1,000,000 degrees. But then there's a reason for that is very similar to the main character's own motivations, which is really interesting. But on your point, Sam, I guess the idea of wrapping up a character is interesting in a show like RWBY, because it's a show that is continuous, and so when the character is wrapped up, it supposedly wrapped up, like the show's still going, so it's less wrapping up and more so going into the next arc of that character's story. Would you say that's more so how the show sort of works for you, Eddie?
Yeah, for sure. Right, it's all about like where are all these characters going by the time the show ends, and you know, I've been saying this like a little bit, and the first time I made this tweet, like people read into it, and I should have known better than to use the word ship.
Uh-oh.
Right,
What,
but
like a RWBY fan base? No
yeah,
way.
exactly. Like, and so my thing is that like big ships like turn slowly, right? And so I've been saying that, and people thought I was talking about like ships, and I was like, no, I just mean like large
Oh.
boats, right? Like they turn
I like how you
slowly.
have to say ships,
And,
like that's not ships. Like,
Yes.
you're talking about, yeah.
What's funny is I didn't know about the whole shipping thing like until I started RWBY Rewind. And like once it's like,
Yeah,
oh,
that's
you're
an
gonna host RWBY
introduction.
Rewind, and I was like, okay, cool. And then it was just like everybody starts throwing out ship, and I'm like, what the f- are you
What are you
talking
talking
about?
about?
And then I was like, they're like, yeah, it's like a relationship. They ship them. I'm like, oh, okay, I got it. And then I went, oh, like 'cause I saw like the RWBY
mean,
subreddit, and
You
like,
were
I was
you
like,
were on an anime show with Funimation for years.
I know.
You've never heard of
It never
ship
came
before?
up. It never came
Yeah.
up.
Even
Yeah, so-
doing Grimm Campaign, I feel like half the comment section was just
about
like
shipping
shipping
the-
stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Asher
so
and
like
Phoenix
with
came up a lot.
any show where you've got like that many characters and like that big of a story, like spanning, you know, like all these different events, right? It you know, it unfortunately, right, and that's just the nature of how the show was built and like what it is, right? Like it's a show with like 1,000,000 characters that has like a 2.5-hour runtime, right? You have to think of every season as like an Infinity War, right? Each character only gets each character only gets the amount of touch time that like an Avenger might get in one of those movies, especially the later ones, right? Like if there's 15 characters, right? you know, everyone, you got to treat everyone like a little Star-Lord, right? They get these 2 or 3 kind of like big-ish moments, but everything else is kind of like colors to that, and you have to make sure that all those pieces fit.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that's just the way the show is, and you know, we can't change that unless all of a sudden we were to kill like 80% of the characters, and then it wouldn't be the same show. So
You heard it here, folks.
Yeah,
The
so
next
let's-
volume, 80% of the characters are just gone.
No, do not.
Dead.
Someone's gonna quote me on that. That's the
Yeah.
it's already out there. But no, so that's the thing, is that like it's anytime that you're trying to like zero in on like a handful of characters and what you want their emotional journey to be, it is going to take 2 or 3 seasons to make the kind of progress that you would really like to make. Right, each season is a stair step, and I like to think of it the same way as those, like when you look at like Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame, you get like that same amount of touch points and character turns.
For sure. And that whole idea, I mean, that's not unique to RWBY.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
generally how a lot of these sort of shows work, where like there's a main plot that is the basis of like the season, and then the character plots or stories expand throughout multiple seasons, and that makes sense.
Yeah, well, I feel like it's a little bit different with RWBY just because of the runtime, right? Like the you know what I mean, like we're not
Being a web show.
Yeah, we don't have 13 20-minute episodes. You know, we have 13 like 15-minute episodes, which is a significant like loss of, you know, I don't want to say loss because I don't want to talk about like it's a bad thing, right? But it just is kind of the way the show works. There's less screen time, right? So you have to treat everything a little bit more delicately when you can.
Yep.
For sure. Although I think the idea that RWBY focuses on individual teams of people helps with that regard. So you can keep the story focused on these individual groups while everything else is going on around them.
Especially now that they're back together.
Stories.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, that's awesome. I hope everybody's excited for Volume 8. Geez, the animation team has been killing it. It's so cool seeing what they've been doing with this season. So that's coming up very soon, right?
Yeah, November 7th is when that starts. So I'm very much looking forward to it. I have the entire volume exists now in some form, right? Like not, you know, obviously not all animated, right? But there's animatics for pretty much everything. So like I'm off on vacation this week, so the other night I actually just like watched the whole thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which was pretty cool to like sit down and just be like, all right, I'm just gonna like go through all this.
That's awesome. Oh my god.
Yeah,
I'm hyped.
That was a trip.
It's gonna be cool. Yes, I see people in the chat saying like, wait, is there a trailer out? Yes, there is a trailer out.
Yeah,
Just
new
came
trailer
out yesterday. Definitely check that out. I think Rooster Teeth Twitter has posted it. Facebook has posted it. It's everywhere. You can just look up RWBY.
Yeah, it's on YouTube. I think IGN got it first. So yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's when you know you're doing all right, when IGN comes for that exclusive.
Yeah.
Like
For the trailer. Yeah.
Yeah, it's some crazy shit is gonna go down. I mean, if you remember the little bit of what happened at the very end of the last volume, you're already ready for it. It's gonna be crazy. But man, so kind of shifting gears, but still talking about RWBY. We mentioned it a couple times, but I don't know if a lot of people watching right now know what it is. Can you guys explain what the deal is with this Grimm campaign? What the heck is the Grimm campaign?
Sure.
Yeah, we wanted to do a D&D show, and then so we did one.
Sam, you're the...
That's the quick wrap up there. Yeah, we did RWBY D&D. It's a first show, so yeah, you can sign up for first memberships. I'm sure there's lower third Cody can pull up here to tell you more about that. But yeah,
just put Cody on the spot. Cody, make him lower third real fast.
Do it. Yeah.
Well, usually there is a first membership lower third, so I thought maybe yeah. But yeah, point is,
well, that one.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
Sam pitched the idea of doing a RWBY D&D show, and in very like old school Screw Attack fashion, they're like, "Great, you pitched it, do it." So there we go, perfect. That's what a wonderful
Great lower third.
Yeah.
But no, so Sam got together with Ben Ernst, Cody, Eddie, and started planning like this whole thing. Like, hey, how do we create a whole custom campaign, custom rule set to make it really feel like these characters are RWBY characters. And hey, why not make it canon and like set it back in time a little bit? And Eddie write a really cool story that they have to go through that tells more about the world of Remnant, while also again figuring out all of these mechanics and how aura works and semblances and all this fun stuff. Then on top of that, they partnered with Tailspire, which is a game that's in early access, or no, it's in beta on Steam, which is like a custom campaign building software for Dungeons and Dragons. Got our own Grimm models imported into it, got us early access. So, and then also got the animation team involved, so that when we who were playing it got to create our characters, they got to be drawn. We have little mini animations for them.
That was one of the most exciting pieces of this whole thing, is watching like those characters like get those first passes and stuff.
Yeah, it was awesome. Like, I really wanted to have the like little characters so we could make it kind of like a visual novel. Like, I thought like just Persona 5, like that was kind of what I was going for, not necessarily in style, but in just like concept of like, that, like having that next to the character. Thankfully, Cody was also TD and a huge part of Grimm Campaign, so he's got assets on hand.
Sad. Should have picked the best
having
character.
That like visual novel element of it was super important to me, to like, just because whenever it was like, hey, do a D&D show, it's like, how do you make it different, since there's so many D&D shows? So it was like that and Tailspire, which was just a complete like shot in the dark.
There we go.
Just got on
much better.
Like, for the Tailspire thing, I just went to their Discord and was like, who a businessman? And they were like, I'll help. And that was like, it was the most haphazard shit way to do it, but it worked out great. And we got their help, and it was awesome program beats.
Yeah, so, man, but that's what's so crazy to me. Is just like, okay, we're going to do a RWBY D&D show. And like, seeing this is the first D&D show you've ever run. And like, just like, there was so much work by everybody that was put into this, and it came out so good. It's also like heavily edited. And when I say that, like, that doesn't mean that it's bad. It's more like, some D&D shows are so hard to get into because they're like 2 to 3 hour long episodes, right? And this is like, it's edited so well that like you get everything that we accomplished, you get the important stuff, you get the fun, and yet they're usually about 45 minutes to 1 hour. And there's also a lot of work done in sound design, so it's like a really immersive experience, especially by being able to see us on the board when we're in combat, or see our characters pop up when we make some expression. There's also really cool background art, like
and just like sound really took it over the fucking top, because being able to hear like bowstrings and stuff, just these little touches in the background, and like, you know, that sword clash when an attack happens, like, it just made it so much more entertaining and like fun to watch and follow and like work with. The sound, every little bit of it came together and made it a lot better than the sum of all its parts, which was a nice bonus for as the producer of it. I was like, oh shit, worked, nice.
Dude, it came like, shout out to everybody who worked on that. I just got to, you know, make a character and then play along and be stupid and fun, but so much went into it, and it's so cool.
I mean, the episodes are about an hour long-ish, right?
45 to an hour each one. Yeah.
How long were those sessions? Like
3 hours.
Originally?
Yeah, 3 hours
each about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to be
say
fair,
a lot of
we
that
probably
was like set up, recap, like.
Yeah, there was a lot of
2 to 2.5 hours.
Yeah, we probably only played 2 to 2.5 hours, but yeah, that still got cut down to about 45 minutes.
Yeah, that's a D&D session, right? You're there for normal. 3 hours, but you actually only play for 1.5.
Yeah,
it was talking about it.
That's pretty much D&D.
It was interesting because like Chad had never really played D&D, so when we were doing some of our practice sessions and they'd take 3 hours long, Chad's kind of like, is this going to be boring? Like, was kind of the vibe you were giving off. Like,
no, dude, I loved recording that show. God, so much fun. Like, we all look forward to it every week. But no, it was the intro. That's what you're thinking of. The very first one, because like I was like, I had so much fun playing this. I was like, I really like when you're making shows for the internet, like, man, like you've got like, you don't have much of a chance to like get an audience. You basically have one chance to get your audience hooked into it. They're gonna watch for like the first like maybe minute if you're lucky, and if they don't seem interested, like they're gone forever. Like, you know, like they'll never like, no, I tried it, it was boring or whatever. So that was my big fear at the very beginning. I was just like, we need to like right out the gate, like, this is what we're doing, let's go. So
and then, I threw you guys out of a plane, so that
it was amazing.
Especially since, like, you know, take it back 5 years or whatever, and the general consensus among YouTube was like, long form content has no place here. You got to make it 10 minutes or less or nobody's going to watch.
Yeah.
And then shows like Critical Role came along and was like, fuck that. Like, we're not doing that. And it still worked. So figuring all that out, is obviously tricky, but oh my God, was that the miniatures?
Yeah, that was the look at Tailspire with our Grimm characters in there. So yeah, I mean, the thing about with the Grimm campaign is that, right, like we wanted it to be set apart just like visually, right, like not look like other D&D shows. So we have these kind of like that visual novel element. We've got like the characters and the representation with Tailspire, which added a lot, just for the audience and for our players. And we had all this art, we really wanted it to stand apart that way. But then also, like, even though it's set in the world of RWBY, I don't think it requires RWBY knowledge to understand the story and to get into it, right? Because I feel like we handled those things as they came up. I mean, it feels like D&D still.
It's also
like
not
a little bit of a
directly connected to any volume. It's its own sort of timeline. I mean,
it's a couple of years before, and it's got like some cool nuggets in there for people that watch the show.
That was also one of the things that was really fun to play with because we had Carrie and Eddie there. So like I think Chris played along with it too, but I would love to be like, well, it's canon, so now you have to say, what is this thing? Like say it, and then it's
we would totally decline sometimes. We're like, no, we're not gonna commit to that. We're not gonna do that.
Oh my God. Oh man.
That was fun. But no, it was really cool. Like the way everybody like played. Each person's character is completely different, and like they somehow yet all work together in this really fun dynamic. And it was just so much fun. It's such a cool mix of interesting RWBY story, us just joking around and having a lot of laughs, but then also like some really awesome, cool, serious moments. So I highly suggest you check it out. Please go. I really want to record more. So
and
love to be able to do more.
Thinking about taking a 4-hour shoot. That's all one big, story essentially, and then getting the editing team done and sound team to work on that. That's a lot of work to make it as cool as it is. So huge props to the production team for that.
For sure.
Did an amazing job.
Very big.
Yeah.
We also helped a little bit because there were times where we were just like, okay, we have to cut that.
Is that helping or is it just adding more work to them? Like, okay, make sure you cut that and this.
But then we found really good like PC ways to nod to that stuff throughout the campaign. The stuff that we knew would get cut or stuff that happened in our playtest.
Yeah, it was
Welcome
super
to a D&D session.
It was
Things
definitely
get off the rails
interesting
sometimes.
Oh yeah, well that was the thing, is like it was interesting from a writing standpoint, right? Like of knowing kind of the story, but also like wanting them to be able to do what they wanted to a point. So like a lot of it was like these events are going to happen pretty much no matter what, but I wasn't going to force the characters to look at them from a specific angle. It was more like these are the things that are going to happen, and they may be there for them or they may not. Like I'll try to steer them to a place where they could like get the best view of it, right? But that didn't always happen.
Yeah, or they might spend an hour fighting an endless wave of Grimm on a bridge because we thought that would be the best strategy until we finally realized, like, oh, maybe we should just move on.
So you didn't like railroad them one direction. It was entirely possible that they were going to just do something crazy that would horribly mess up the canon.
I would try to do things like I had an idea of like, this is what I want to happen. And, we'd plan out certain things for an episode, right? But I never tried to like force it in any particular direction. I mean, there was a lot of stuff that happened in the last 3 or 4 episodes that was never part of, right, like the original direction for the story. I mean, they end up going on a heist, and like that was never even really like a part of like our initial story kick around
adding
stuff.
That Ocean's 11 spice though was it worked out really well.
Yeah, that was fun. And that's a huge testament to Eddie as a DM because he rolled with us, and throughout the process, we learned a lot about Eddie as a DM, and he learned a lot about us. So it was great.
All right, well, how can people watch the Grimm campaign?
First episode is free on roosterteeth.com. So you can head to roosterteeth.com and just search Grimm Campaign. And that's Grimm with 2 M's. And then if you like it, the whole first season is out right now. So you can sign up for a first membership trial if you're not a first member. And then you could watch it all. And then maybe stay a first member and say that you're staying a first member because that show was so great and you want more of it.
Yeah, I mean RWBY,
definitely do
RWBY's
that
coming
one.
out in a couple
Yeah.
of weeks anyway. Go ahead and get that first membership.
All right. Well, I think now's a good time to jump into this week's community death battle.
So, you know what a lot of people don't want to talk about? Your wiener. It's been more specifically the times where it may or may not work so good. But it's not something you need to be afraid to talk about or hide or anything, because let me tell you, this right here, ED, happens to a lot of men by the age of 40. And almost 40% of men struggle with ED, apparently. So if this has happened to you, you're not alone. And the dumbest thing you could do is not get help for it, or think that that's just that. And that's the way life is, because you'd be very long. HIMS can connect you with licensed medical professionals online to see if prescription treatment is right for you. HIMS, you don't have to deal with in-person conversations. You're not going to an actual doctor, which is very good for our social distance life right now. They're doing it online, and you can get a confidential review, and if appropriate, send prescription treatment straight to your door. Nice, discreet packaging. Don't have to worry about it at all. So, if ED was just between you and your partners, that's tough enough. But knowing you could disappoint said partner, that makes it 3 times more difficult to deal with. So now HIMS gives you an easy solution. It's a subject that is maybe not the most comfortable to talk about, but genuinely a subject that if you suffer anything from it, you should never be ashamed or embarrassed. You should just seek help and see what your options are, because there is no reason to not do that. It's the smart thing to do, and I will always advocate for the smart thing to do. So yeah. Let's go to 4hims.com, and it's 4hims is all about male wellness, and they got all sorts of stuff. It might not be this, it might be hair loss, or hell, just some vitamins or a sleep aid or something like that. HIMS has got everything. And COVID home tests, yeah, these guys are killing it right now. They got all sorts of stuff that might be useful for your life. Check it out, and go to hims.com. You can try HIMS today by starting with our free online visit. Go to 4hims.com/cast for your free visit. That's 4hims.com/casted. Cast ED. 4hims.com/cast ED. FORHIMS.com/cast ED. Yeah, go check it out. Be smart, treat your body well, and chase your happy. Don't be an idiot and just accept sad. Okay, bye.
Okay.
I just realized, Ben, Eddie's off
What's
the
up?
hook. He's off the hook for creating a community death battle, because we
Oh, that's
promised
right.
everybody that last week it would be Ice Bear versus whoever we felt was great from
Eddie,
the
that's
comments.
do you watch We Bear Bears?
No, I do not. I've seen like a
Do you watch
couple
We
of
Bear Bears?
episodes.
No?
That's
should
great.
watch
You
it.
should
It's
watch
fucking
them. Watch them
incredible.
with your girls.
Yeah, I've seen like 1 or 2 episodes with them.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Talk about somebody
forgot
making
about that.
excellent short form content. Those guys kill it like
For
crazy.
sure. You go. I'm gonna pull up last week's.
Cool. Yes. So, as always with the community death battle, we present some random idea, whoever comes up with it, and let us know who you think should win and why, and then we just sort of argue about it here. So last week, Cole pitched the idea of Fred Flintstone versus George Jetson, which is hilarious. So I believe we should have answers from Twitter, correct, Sam?
Yeah, we should.
So let's go ahead and bring up the first one.
We should.
Oh, cool. Yep.
Hold on. Did
Wait,
Sam not get them to Cody?
Stand by.
Yeah.
So the first one is probably Fred Flintstone, and that he's super.
I can just read them for you if you want, but
Sure,
I
no
do
worries.
have all of them here.
Just make sure to say the name of the
Yeah,
of the
so Ryan
user.
Coates is like, Fred Flintstone may have a raw strength and physical advantage, but George Jetson has got a full-on future tech arsenal. He will just use that and take out Fred. Hell, he'll probably get a giant space laser and cause another extinction event, which is, I think, what a lot of people in the comics were leaning to, is George Jetson has like a bunch of, they're in the future, right? He literally has a flying car, which I feel like you could just run into somebody with traditionally, but Also, Fred gets hit by cars multiple times in his fight, so probably not.
Does he have a giant laser though? I don't know. I don't remember ever having a giant extinction event laser.
He does have a bunch of weird stuff. Like Rosie, I think would be the one that has more shit. Like,
yeah. Well, here's the thing. I feel like you could make the same analogy with like us now. Like we would be like, people would like look at us as like future men, right?
Right. Sure.
So like if you put like, I don't know, Fred Flintstone, that dude looks like 6'2", like 250 pounds, right? Like put him in a room like 15 feet away from any of us, right? Do you think, even though I've got like an iPhone in my pocket,
exactly,
and he's gonna make a difference?
You're talking about that because he gets that car moving with just his feet.
Well,
so like,
yeah.
Do you have an answer for
caveman bones?
Do you have an answer for Fred?
Yeah, I don't know if I just sent him to Cody. I don't know if it'll be pulled up, but this one's from our dear friend Alex Bamberg, which we all know and love and haven't seen.
Alex,
miss you, man. Clarification: Fred regularly bowls with actual boulders heavier than George. While George likely has a host of gadgets to choose from, he's also a simpleton and likely can't operate them without self-harm, which is true because George does like nothing for himself. All the Judsons, like, they don't even dress themselves. They wake up and a robot dresses them, right?
Yeah.
Like, they don't do anything.
So even if he had a giant laser right there, he would probably just look at it and be like, "Go."
Yeah, I don't know.
And expect it to do something.
What? Like, have you all seen like really young millennials like try and do jobs and stuff? They're getting worse at this. I feel like by George Jetson's time, awful. They can't do anything. So
what was his job at Spacely Sprockets though? Does anyone remember what his actual job was there?
I want to say sales. I have no idea. He just seems like a sales guy.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's like their social media manager or something.
George Jetson job. Let's see.
I was just about to Google that myself.
He is a digital index operator.
Okay, so he just works on spreadsheets all day. I think.
Yeah, that adds up too.
Yeah, that does add up. That dude would be useless in a fight.
Hold on. George's primary job requires him to repeatedly push a single button, or on occasion a series of multiple buttons. Or a computer named Rudy. Yep.
Why would they not replace him with a robot? Show,
why not?
Oh my god, realistic. Guys. George complains of his heavy workload, pushing a button on and off as many as 5 times for 3 hours, 3 days a week.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll bet that guy can't even run like 15 feet.
Dude.
Yeah. He probably hasn't, like, ever in his life.
Yeah, because he's got conveyor belts
and stuff. Yeah.
Oh my god.
They take Astro out to walk, but they don't.
Oh my god. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's screwed.
My vote's Fred.
He's screwed.
Have we even read we haven't even read the Fred one yet.
Yeah, we did.
We just did.
Read the Fred one?
It was from Alex Bamberg. Yeah.
He bowls with boulders heavier than
I got distracted. Yeah, got it.
Yeah,
Fred, 100%
bowling
Fred.
With like full-size boulders. Like,
yeah, 100% Fred.
I
mean, Maggie is
at first going off of what Eddie had said.
Oh, what's she got to say?
I would say Maggie has chimed in that spreadsheets would be an advantage in a fight.
That is some Maggie shit to say.
Yeah.
Well, I was almost gonna go with build off of what Eddie said and be like, well, if they are just in a room together, maybe Fred would have an advantage, but in a wider arena, maybe George would. But I think Fred has got this regardless of what situation we throw them in.
Yep. I really like Eddie's response though too.
Yeah. If you put them in a room together, yeah, that iPhone's not gonna have not gonna do any good against the giant muscular Fred Flintstone.
Yeah, 100% Fred.
I don't know if anybody's ever called him that before, but there you go.
I'm just imagining like a Henry Cavill-sized man, but just like beefier, like with like the big old like caveman skeletal,
like like Dave Bautista.
Yeah.
Like a death battle, like the next Flintstones movie, but like cast by us, and we have to be like accurate to what they're capable of doing. They're all just super jacked.
There you go.
Oh, I love it. All right, so I think all of us are voting for Fred.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is anybody not voting for Fred?
No, I've got
I
Fred.
think it's Fred across the board.
Clean sweep. But as always, so long as we have that poll, it's up to you guys to vote and let us know who you think should win and why using a poll on Twitter, on the Death Battle Twitter. So let's go ahead and bring up that poll. Or
If Cody has it. Oh yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
Significant Fred
Everybody agrees.
Flintstone.
I feel like anytime you have to start qualifying, like, oh, well, if so and so had this and this, and then it's the other person.
welcome to Death Battle. We do that. That's our day. Yeah, figuring that stuff out. Awesome. So thank you all for voting on the poll. We will have a poll up for the next community death battle, which will be what we talked about, if it's going to be Ice Bear versus somebody else.
We asked people to throw into the chat and then also into like comments of who they want to see Ice Bear fight.
That's right.
Some of the ones that I've seen is Ice Bear versus Kuma, right, which is one I threw out way back. Ice Bear versus the Coca-Cola Bear.
I mean, he beats the Coca-Cola Bear. We don't
Yeah,
need
of course.
that one.
Ice Bear versus Yogi Bear.
Paddington.
Then again, the Coca-Cola might have the power to befriend anything, so that
Okay.
might be interesting. Ice Bear versus Smokey Bear. But Smokey, look, we did research on Smokey the Bear, man.
Smokey
the
Bear
Bear will
wins.
fucking destroy him.
He can stomp the planet to bits if he wants.
Ice Bear versus Poe from Kung Fu Panda, and Ice Bear versus Snake Eyes from G.I. Joe, because apparently they have similar backstories.
Yes, that's the one I was going to bring up. I saw that suggestion.
And they're both silent.
Thought that was perfect.
Who's Beartick? I've seen that one too.
Beartick is a Pokemon.
Ah,
It's just a polar bear Pokemon. There he is.
I love Ice Bear.
I think Ice Bear versus Snake Eyes is absolutely hilarious, and I kind of want to do it.
They're both trained in martial arts by a master that was then killed. They're both very quiet, and it's so funny to think about those, like this badass, like the coolest looking GI Joe, right? Like by far, going up against this just like lightly animated, like or lightly drawn, dopey
calm
cartoon
looking bear.
Yeah. And Ice Bear
good to
versus
me.
Skipper. I don't know who Skipper is. Or,
I don't
Yeah,
know
I'm not
that
sure
one
who that
either.
one is.
Skipper. I see a couple of that in the chat. Who the hell is Skipper?
from what? Yeah.
Skipper sounds like a very common name for a character. I was like, I'll just Google it, but it's probably going to come up with a million things. Skipper.
I found a doll that's a bear named Skipper.
Yeah, see, I think that Snake Eyes Ice Bear, that's perfect right there.
That's
How can you go
perfect.
wrong with
That's
Look
a good
at
one.
that.
That's a death battle thumbnail right there. The bear versus
Yeah.
the ninja. I love it. All right. I think that's what we're going with.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect.
All right. That's the next community death battle. Ice Bear from We Bear Bears versus the G.I. Joe Snake Eyes.
Yes.
Holy shit. All right. Let us know who you think should win and why using hashtag DeathBattleCast on Twitter.
Skipper
There will
from
be
Madagascar.
pull up. You can also just answer to that poll. I'll leave a comment under that poll and we can take it from there. And with that, I think that wraps everything up. I know there's some people have tuned in a little late. So just to sort of do a quick repeat of what we said at the beginning of the episode, the Red versus Blue Death Battle will now be airing on November 15th for first members. And we will have a brand new episode November 1st that is Saberwolf versus John Talbane. Our Halloween episode, one day after Halloween.
So close. It keeps on going.
Yep. Yeah. And then the series keeps on going. No episode is being replaced or the original November 15th episode is just being bumped to the next slot and so on. So we're not losing any episodes. It's just moved back 2 weeks, basically. And that's it. So again, let us know who you think will win that community death battle. Thank you so much, Eddie, for joining us and talking RWBY and death battle with us. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was awesome.
By the way, Skipper was the leader of the Penguins from Madagascar.
Oh, right.
I guess the polar
Skipper
connection.
Captain.
Yeah. The polar connection.
He's another one who doesn't really do a lot, though.
They
Penguins do
blow
everything
shit
for
up,
him.
right? Oh, I guess he just bosses the other penguins into doing
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, we hope we can have you back on another show, Eddie. This is a lot of fun having you on.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
All right, and thank you again to everybody who tuned in live, even though we were doing this on a different day. We didn't even mention this, but this is our 200th episode, guys.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Hey.
shit.
Hey.
Next, we'll do 201. We'll make something special next week.
I have
maybe.
nothing
I
to
don't know.
celebrate with. Cheers. This is just iced tea, so
This
I don't
is
know.
just a
I
soda.
mean, you had me on, so that was special.
Yeah, there you go.
that's-
Very
that's true.
special.
Yeah. Sure.
Thanks,
All right.
guys.
So we'll wrap up the episode with that. As always, be kind to others, be kind to yourself, be awesome. Thanks for watching.
Bye bye.